Hello and welcome to the Thaiger Digital Summit. I'm Jay and joining me today is Mike.
Hello,
Mike, take it up.
everyone, and welcome, as Jay said, to the Digital Summit. I mean, today I've been spending my time going out and speaking to 7 of the most innovative companies within Thailand, talking about disruption and how they don't end up like my friend over here, the dinosaur. So we're talking about innovation and how really the pandemic is making them change their businesses. It's a really interesting conversation. So during this whole web series, if you're free to ask questions, we'll try and answer at least 1 or 2 after every session that we do. So for all further ado, let's get on with it and speak to 500 Tuk Tuks, one of the most innovative funds in Thailand and Southeast Asia.
Hi guys, so I'm here with Tu. He's the Senior Investment Manager of the 500 Tuk Tuks Fund. Tu, in 30 seconds, give us a quick breakdown of what 500 Tuk Tuks does.
Thanks, Michael. So 500 Tuk Tuks is basically an early stage venture capital fund that invests in, companies, disruptive companies that are just starting out. And we do invest in all kinds of industries. So we're kind of like the supporter or the helper for startups at the early stage to get to the next level.
Okay, so in terms of early stage startups, are you predominantly like the biggest or main or most active fund within Thailand?
I would say definitely yes. So if you look at a lot of the stats that comes out from the startup reports or from TechSource, we're usually at the top of the list in terms of most active investors in Thailand and in Southeast Asia, and a lot of the times globally as well, with the whole 500 startups family. Yeah.
Okay, great. So look, we're here to talk about disruption. So firstly, from a fund perspective, how is 500 Tuk Tuks disrupting in relation to deploying capital, looking after portfolio companies within its markets?
Right. So typically, I think a lot of the VCs traditionally, they do quite a different perspective from us. So they invest large checks, but in small frequencies. So they don't invest in that many companies. So a fund might have only 10 portfolio companies. But when we started out, we took a look at the landscape and see that we need to kind of sow the seeds of many startups for the ecosystem to grow. So we took the other extreme of the approach in terms of investing small sums of money, but invest in a large quantity of companies to help build up the ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay, so basically 500 Tuk Tuks is basically supporting an ecosystem by investing in a large number of companies. I mean, how many companies has 500 Tuk Tuks invested in?
Throughout the last 6 years, we've invested in almost 90 companies already. So we're gonna reach 100 soon, and I think we'll definitely be the first fund, locally here to reach that size. Yeah.
Okay, so you're basically disrupting by basically priming the ecosystem with capital to allow multiple companies to kind of grow and thrive during these markets, yes?
Yeah, definitely. So we're taking risks where others aren't willing to, right? And we're getting both the rewards and the risk from that.
Okay, and how has the pandemic really affected in relation to what 500 Tuk Tuks are investing in right now?
So I think it has affected slightly, but not. It has not changed our whole thesis or our whole perspective on investing in startups. We still look for great teams that are building scalable products that are tech enabled. So it hasn't shifted our focus that much. But in terms of the startups itself, I think there's more onus on the startups to prove that they are tech enabled, they are scalable, and they are more lean and agile. They can adapt to different circumstances and things like that.
Sure, got you. So let's talk about some of the portfolio companies, and really let's focus on disruption and how, just give us an example of some of your portfolio companies that you're working with and how they've really provided disruption during this pandemic.
Right. So I think one of the industries that was most disrupted was the edtech industry, right? Where schools are closed, employees are working from home, and how do you training? How do you do online learning, right? Which was a thing that was really difficult for these startups to push pre-pandemic. They were the ones going out asking people to try and use all these like online solutions and things like that. But once the pandemic started, right, the tables have turned now. Schools are coming to them. Corporates are coming to these guys to use their solutions. So we have a few portfolio companies doing different things in the space. So Conical is like a modern learning management system for corporates to use to train their employees, things like that. So they have a really nice platform where the HR, the backend can see the analytics of how their employees are learning as well. How well are they doing? On the student side, we have another company called Open Turian, which I think they grew almost 3 to 4x this year during the pandemic, where it's just an online learning platform helping students pre-uni, enter uni, and students and first jobber getting their first job. So those kind of plays have been doing really well during the pandemic, disrupting how people learn from the traditional offline way to a purely online process of learning.
Brilliant. And so in relation to your portfolio, what percentage of companies are really thriving during the pandemic as opposed to really suffering? Is it 50-50? Is it more of your portfolio is actually doing very well during the pandemic?
Yeah, so I think the ones that were most affected were the ones in the travel and the event space. So a lot of them have gone into like a hibernation mode, or cutting down costs, just trying to survive and weather the pandemic period. Whereas I think that portion would be 10 to 15% of the whole portfolio. Whereas I think 30% are actually thriving, the edtechs, the e-commerce, the logistics plays, right? So we have quite a few startups that are actually benefiting off of the pandemic. And I think there's another group that is interesting as well, which is those who are really primed for a strong recovery after the pandemic. Right? We have guys like Hungry Hub, Gowabi, and even FazWaz, where once the country opens up, we know these guys are going to do well and probably do better than what they were doing pre-pandemic, for sure, because there's a pent-up demand waiting for those kind of services.
Interesting. And do you see the pandemic as eliminating competition that would have possibly not been there in kind of very challenging markets? Is this basically clearing out, some of the older entrants to the market and for the more innovative companies to come in and really thrive?
Yeah, so I think in the long term, it might have a net positive effect, in terms of like a forest fire weeding out, dead wood in the ecosystem, companies that aren't, strong or adaptable enough to certain situations, and only the strong teams and the strong companies are left, right? I think one of the personal learnings I've had is basically the founders who really love their business, are passionate about their business. They'll try to put the effort in to fight through the pandemic. They won't give up, right? And I think if you're starting a startup and you're putting in the effort for over 10 years and you don't give up, more likely than not you're going to have a decent chance of success. But there's another group where once the pandemic came, it's disheartening for them. They're discouraged and they just put their hands up and basically end the company, and that's fair enough as well.
Sure. So, I mean, if the last question I have for you. So, when you're looking for disruptive startups, I mean, I take it based on what you just spoke about the founders, staying within the game. If you were to identify 3 things you look for in disruptive companies, would one of them be founders?
Oh, definitely. I think founders would be up there on top in terms of importance, especially at the early stages where we don't have a history of the company's operating, performance. The team is the most important thing for us. Where, they have to be kind of like really impressive or great at something. And then the second and third thing would be, the market they're in, is it big enough to support, a unicorn size company? If not, can they be competitive in terms of going regional? And the The third thing would probably be the business and the traction has the product market fit where, they've gone into market for a few months. What's the response from the market, right? If a product really has that fit, then the market would tell us that it has,
Understood. So, okay, great. Thank you so much for your comments too. So there you have it. There is two. He's a senior investment manager of 500 Tuk Tuks, one of the most disruptive funds in Southeast Asia, a leading seed and investment fund within Thailand. Thank you too for your time.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Cool.
Right, Mike, that was the venture capitalist 500 Tuk Tuks. Now, we've got some questions coming in. I'm going to ask the first one. How do you approach a venture capitalist like 500 for investment?
I mean, it's a really good question. I think that, it's a long-winded answer because you have to make sure that you understand who 500 Tuk Tuks are or the equivalent VC, what their investment thesis is, what type of companies they're looking for. Once you get past this and you have your presentation, you've got a good business. The best way is to go through referrals. We've worked with 500 Tuk Tuks. They funded one of our projects. So the best way to go and get intros to them is through referrals. So go through your network and find someone who knows them or a portfolio company that's actually, they've invested in and try and get them to recommend because they'll listen more closely to their portfolio companies and their existing founders and what they think in relation to, is this startup worth even speaking to? I wouldn't go on and cold message them or hit them on LinkedIn personally. Another way is to look at some of the media they put out. They write a lot of content out there and, tailor a specific email around some of their content to show that you've actually read some of their stuff as opposed to you're just cold messaging every single person and it's a numbers game because these guys, they want to make sure that you're the correct company and the correct founders.
Okay, so do some research. Who do we have next?
Okay, so the next company we've got is a company that I've been following for quite a few years. They're a company called 7 Peaks. They're one of Thailand's fastest growing software development houses. So welcome 7 Peaks.
Hi guys, I'm here with Justine. He's the CEO of 7 Peaks. It's one of Thailand's fastest growing software development companies. Justine, can you just give us a quick elevator pitch of what exactly is 7 Peaks and how does it work?
Thank you, Michael. So my name is Justin Oxenes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of 7 Peaks. 7 Peaks is one of the leading software and design agencies here in Bangkok. We have been in the market now for the last 7 years and initially set up here as a production company towards the Norwegian market. We are now currently a team of around 85. We're a good mix of local and international talent and work with leading local and international enterprise clients.
Right. Okay, so look, the whole conference is on disruption and what effectively is 7 Peaks doing to provide disruption. So let's just talk about disruption. How is 7 Peaks disrupting the whole development ecosystem within Thailand?
So the way we see it now, especially during COVID, is that there's a lot of change in how clients and our partners are looking at software development. There's a shortage of software engineers. There is a lot of complicated projects that need to be executed. So we see lately over the last, 6 to 12 months, there has been a massive demand on new digital projects. So we see that a lot of the clients now are much more interested in doing remote development than typically what they were before. And 7 Peaks, again, is positioning ourselves as a technology provider, basically working as a long-term partner with our clients. So for us, we see there's a lot of new opportunities now where we can work closely with the clients to help them realize their digital products.
Okay, fine. So traditionally, I'm guessing your partners were outsourcing or insourcing their own technology, either going through the process of utilizing outside companies or trying to hire talent themselves within the company. So why is this shift happening towards creating partnership relationships with companies like 7 Peaks? What has been the movement here?
I think again, finding vendors and finding developers has always been very difficult. I think previously, a lot of companies have been looking at software engineers as more commodity. You go to different outsourced countries, you find cheap developers, you try to kind of build a product. A lot of company now is realizing that cost is not the only thing. You also need to have a proper kind of offering. You need to have a proper team, proper architecture of your project, and somebody that is governing the whole project. So we are seeing now that a lot of companies are coming back after having projects that have not been executed as well as they wanted. And looking for a more experienced partner to help them execute these projects.
Okay, that makes total sense. I mean, in Thailand, we know there is a lack of good talent. So, what does Seven Peaks do to really, prime the ecosystem with training, new talent or young, technologists on how to do great software development?
So I think one of the key areas where we are focusing is taking part of building the, I would say, tech ecosystem here in Bangkok. And one of the things we are doing is that we are running a program called Seven Peaks Speaks, where we normally, before COVID at least, we're running 1 to 2 events every month, where we're doing knowledge sharing, where we bring in both external speakers from our partners, as well as having our internal team speak at different topics. So that's a way where we can bring in people. We provide free pizza and beer. We allow people to network and mingle while learning something new about the technology.
So part of Seven Peaks is part of the agenda is to attract the best talent and also develop the best talent around within the kind of the ecosystem of Thailand.
Yeah, exactly. So we are working a lot on, one is of course what we're offering to our employees. We have a program internally now we call Seven Peaks Accelerate, where we again providing basically a good way for new junior developers to come in and work in international environments, where they can work with leading kind of enterprise clients as part of bigger senior teams to learn quickly and basically to accelerate their engineering careers. So we have a lot of focus on that, as well as, of course, internally working on different career development programs on how we can help the developers go from the different grades, from a junior to a mid to a senior to maybe a tech lead, and working on internal training.
Understood. So I'm now a startup within Thailand. What size of startup do I have to be or company to work with a company like Seven Peaks? Do I have to be a large corporation? Could I be a very small startup within early stages? At what point can I utilize kind of Seven Peaks as a partner to my business?
So again, we work with companies of all sizes, but of course, primarily our bread and butter is from bigger enterprise clients. I would say we have a very strong value proposition for, I would say, our design discovery and kind of concept work that we do with our design team. So again, even early startups we have been working with to help and refine their ideas and their concepts, help them with wireframing, doing the initial design, and then allow this company to go out and either build this in-house, but helping to basically scope and define that project to allow them to have a quicker start. For the development side, I would say primarily, Series A above is typically the target that we work with.
Okay, understood. Now, I've seen Seven Peaks grow, kind of exponentially during what was, a global pandemic. I mean, explain how you're seeing such good growth in relation to such terrible market conditions. I mean, it's very interesting.
So I think that the fact that COVID now is keeping everybody at home is again giving a lot of pressure on a lot of companies to accelerate their digital disruption. So I think digital transformation now is kind of, I would say in 2021 has been driven as with COVID as one of the main drivers. So a lot of companies now had a long backlog of things they wanted to do. And a lot of these companies now have to really accelerate this work, right? So again, that's also why we see there's a big demand in the market now for digital services and digital transformation type of related services. So for us, at the moment now, the main challenge we have is scaling more on hiring enough people and again, ensuring that we can deliver quality projects and scale this in a safe way. So again, there's a lot of demand. We're delivering a very good quality offering. And at the moment now, I think that the market is really good for, I would say, software development companies.
Understood. And during this kind of event, what type of hot technologies is really key at the moment? You hear from some of your partners in terms of what they want to build. Is it blockchain or is it something else? What's the real hot topics that you keep coming across in relation to your business?
So I think there is a lot of buzzwords out there. There's a lot of different technologies. We are again focusing primarily, I would say, on more an enterprise stack. So again, I would say for our backend again is .NET and Node and primarily focusing on native mobile app development, which we have done since the first iPhone came out. So again, for us, one of the biggest changes we see now is there's a lot more demand of native mobile app development, I would say this year, compared to what it was a few years back. So again, native mobile app development is coming back. There is, of course, a lot of demand also on hybrid mobile app development, React Native, Flutter, and other technologies. We're also seeing there is, of course, a lot more transition towards the cloud. So again, previously there was still projects that wanted to be run on premises. We see now that almost every project we are in discussion with now is running in some sort of a public cloud environment. So Microsoft, AWS, or Google Cloud typically.
So I think that makes sense. So if you were to summarize what the disruption is that Seven Peaks is offering, it's basically becoming a partner solution to all different type of enterprise clients and other clients alike, and really allowing you to take on what you're great at, which is software development, and focusing on great technology stacks and taking off the premises off the partners themselves. Is that kind of where it's at, or have I misunderstood?
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the things that we are bringing again is one of the things we like to call as a tagline is European quality on Southeast Asian cost level, right? Again, we have been working with international clients, enterprise clients since we started. The approach we have is more a modern software development. We are doing more agile, dedicated kind of product teams where we can work very closely with the product and product owner at the client to develop products in a much more agile and incremental way. And this is very different from, I would say, more traditional waterfall projects where you have bigger RFP processes, where again, you try to come up with all the requirements up front. You set a 1 to 2 year timeline of building out the software. So we believe in a much more agile approach, and we are working closely with our clients to try to educate and to change again how these engagements are working and ensure we can have a kind of good working model between both us and the client as a partner.
Right. Well, look, guys, there you have it. Justine, CEO of Seven Peaks, educating and providing digital transformation for the market for a whole range of clients. And Justine, thank you so much for coming on. And I think that's it.
Thank you very much.
Right, and that was Justine from Seven Peaks. Now, we've got a lot of questions coming in, Mike. I'm going to start to do them one by one. First question is for 500 Tuk Tuks. Most of 500 Tuk Tuks startup companies, they've been funding, and the majority of them are in the tech industry. Or are they in the tech industry? Is there a specific industry in which you are seeing a clear influx in young and new businesses?
I mean, so I can't answer on behalf of 500, so you could reach out to them, and they have an investment thesis, which is probably in the public domain, so you can see what they're interested in. I mean, the majority of companies, I'm guessing they're interested in is tech-enabled businesses, because this allows scale. Remember that when we spoke to 500, they're looking for the next unicorn being $1 billion company. So the only way that could quickly happen is through scale and technologies. But it's more a question directed at 500. I mean, we could definitely come back to you post this event and see what I have to say about it.
Right, and we have more questions coming in from viewers for Seven Peaks. First question being, will the demand for IT companies increase?
I think this is a no-brainer, really. In relation to will the demand increase or the digital disruption increase, I think
the digital services, basically.
Yeah, so I think yes. I mean, the digital disruption that's happening in Thailand is only at its very infancy. This is going to keep happening and keep happening. The pandemic has just highlighted and expedited what should have happened much earlier on. So I would imagine, my best guesstimate is that the demand will increase exponentially as opposed to just level out.
Right, okay. And the last question for now, why hire Seven Peaks or other IT companies when you could hire your own team?
I mean, it's a really good question, and we've been there. So when you're building teams, especially within technology, you're probably running a business at the same time, and it all kind of sounds easy to hire some developers. We went through this whole process with some of our portfolio companies. The reality is to find very good developers and good technical leaders and good CTOs takes a long time and can be very expensive. So if companies like Seven Peaks who are working with partner companies, it makes sense if you don't have that capacity or the time to actually form a team, which might take a year or 2 years, is to actually just enable them to be your team. So I think that's why you would utilize a company like Seven Peaks.
Okay, right. Let's move on to the next company. Mike, would you like to introduce them?
Okay, so this is a company which I've worked very, very closely with, and I'm very affectionate to. So let me introduce you to FazWaz. It's Thailand's leading prop tech company. Hey guys, I'm here with Brennan Campbell. He's the CEO of FazWaz.com. It's one of the fastest growing platforms in the whole of Thailand and Southeast Asia. Brennan, tell us exactly what FazWaz is.
Besides having the greatest name in real estate, FazWaz is a technology and data company. We look at the online search information and we pair it with technology tools to help all stakeholders in the real estate industry make smarter decisions.
Cool. So look, we're here talking about disruption. How is FazWaz disrupting, the real estate industry within Thailand?
Another good question. So I think we can probably break that down into three main areas. Number one being data and information. So generally speaking, real estate agents have been the gatekeeper to accessing properties. So for us, the information online and creating transparency, whether it's a location, a neighborhood, a project, information about common area fees, that now we've created an environment where you don't have to go to a real estate agent to get information. Number two, it is the process. So again, back to real estate agents, generally they're stopping you from accessing a property. And at FazWaz, we're really re-engineering the entire process from online search all the way through to a transaction. So you can go on FazWaz, if you're a buyer, you can make an offer direct to an owner without an agent. You can access properties in real time. If you're a seller, you can value your property without speaking to one person. And last but not least, because of that process, we're really disrupting on price, where if you can eliminate an agent from a real estate transaction, then that allows you to disrupt on price as well, offer lower commissions, allow buyers to work directly with developers to get the best value for a property.
I mean, and that's great. I mean, one of the things we've heard from other speakers is exactly what you said. Data, digital transactions, and price. These are core disruption points. Are you saying that real estate is now going to be digitally transferred or transacted? Is that where we're going?
It's like all other industries in the world. Real estate has been more resistant and slower to change, but ultimately we live in an on-demand society, and particularly as the younger generation ages and starts buying homes, that they're going to want the same experience with real estate. It has to be online, it has to be convenient, it has to be digital. And it requires innovation. Okay,
so look, for consumers, I mean, there's lots of different choices out there. I mean, I've heard DD property, Dot property, Thailand property, right? There's so many platforms. How is FazWaz really differentiating itself during this time and period?
It's an entirely different business, right? When you look at traditional classifieds or property portals, they're focused only on one aspect of generating interest, generating leads for other real estate agents in that market, where FazWaz is totally different. Our business model is end-to-end. We're disrupting in the search all the way through the offline transaction. And what that does is it gives us access to information and data that other companies just don't have. So we're able to work with banks, we're able to work with developers, we're able to work with property management and real estate agents to really empower them with the data, but paired with the technology tools to make that process more efficient.
So in other industries, we've heard about these middlemen in basically the travel industry, the hotel industry. These middlemen are now disappearing, these so-called agents. Do we see this happening in the real estate industry?
100%. I think when you look at the value that those platforms deliver, I think Booking.com, Agoda, they're great examples where you'll walk into one of these hotels and you'll try and book a room and they'll tell you to go on Booking.com, where you're standing in that room. The same thing's going to happen to the real estate industry. And the focus is on providing so much value in using the platform that it's safer, it's more secure, and the savings are there, that all transactions will happen through a platform. An agent will exist in terms of, helping somebody that maybe isn't a confident buyer or seller in the market. There'll be a role for real estate agents, but ultimately the platform, the value has to be there.
Okay, so that sounds great. Tell us about these savings. I think consumers, they're up for this transparency, this, it's safe, but tell us how we can actually save money on buying real estate.
I think if you break it down into the two main areas, in that you don't need to buy an off-plan project from a real estate developer that's under construction. You don't need to use a real estate agent. And what's happened is because of that lack of information and transparency, that buyers have to go to an agent to access these developments. And developers are not really differentiating their product so that they're having to pay for the competition of real estate agents to bring customers to their project. And that can cost that buyer 10% commission to the real estate agent. And that's what's artificially increasing some of the property values here. It's like buying a car where you drive it off the lot and it instantly depreciates in value. So on the resale side, again, it's just about creating a platform that has more exposure, that allows consumers to transact quickly, right? And ultimately, with a shorter span in terms of listing and selling and less people involved in it, then we can disrupt on price.
Cool. So there you have it. There is FazWaz.com. Brennan is building effectively the Amazon of real estate, disrupting real estate for price, transparency, data, and transactions. Don't bother going anywhere else. Just go to FazWaz.com. You can check it out. Thank you so much for your time, Brennan. Thank you.
Right, that was Brennan Camel from FazWaz. Now, Mike, I have a question here for you. Are real estate agents dead?
Oh, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, so thanks to whoever's asked that. I think we're just seeing a very quick dynamic shift in what the role is. So I think real estate agents in Thailand need to become more educated, more professional, and offer more value. I think I've spoken about this passionately before. I think that the commissions that are being charged within Thailand are way too high for the value they're offering. So I think real estate agents will transition away in that capacity. Whether they cease to exist, I mean, it all depends on when technology really catches up. But I think what they're looking to specifically is process and itemize what real estate agents do, and then make it easier for the journey of the consumer. So I think, yes, if we fast forward 50 years, I don't think there will be real estate agents, definitely not in the capacity which they're offering now.
Okay, so let's say if I'm a real estate agent now, what should I be doing?
Also, very good question. I think if you're a real estate agent now, you should be looking to really innovate. Don't be one of these real estate agents that kind of sat there, like the dinosaur who was behind us before, thinking that, it's all going to come back and the great times will happen again. It's now time to really innovate, skill up, and look at adding value to clients, especially in the real estate sector, and look at joining good platforms like FazWaz who can really empower you with tools and technology to make you a very efficient and very tech-enabled property agent.
Okay, right, Mike. Let's move on to the next company, please. Who are we talking to next?
Okay, so this is a really interesting company. They're very new and they've started out during the pandemic and really grown super fast. Please welcome Tadoo. Hi guys, I'm here with Sapir. She is the CEO of Tadoo. It's one of the newest platforms in Thailand. Sapir, we're in the elevator. You got 20 seconds. Tell me what Tadoo really is.
So basically, Tadoo is a marketplace in which we allow people to go on our website, educate themselves, learn about the different type of insurances that exist in the market. You can compare between the different products, and then according to your needs, you can actually buy directly on our website.
Okay, cool. So you started this business during the pandemic. Tell me why starting a business during the pandemic makes any sense whatsoever.
So actually for us, it made a lot of sense because it's a time where people need our product, the insurance, the most. And we feel when I go, as a foreigner in Thailand, there is not much information or there is not much offering out there that I can understand. So for us, we felt that it was actually critical to bring it right now to help people to get the thing they need the most, very likely, fast, easy, and in a cheap way.
Okay, so you said you're a foreigner. Are you targeting the Thai market or are you targeting the foreign market or both? Where's Tadoo really sit?
So basically, we are approaching both markets. Obviously, each market we're approaching differently because there is a different need, there is a different pain points, and there is obviously a different way to give service.
Okay, so the insurance market is very limited in Thailand. I mean, Thais don't really buy into insurance products in general. How is Tadoo really disrupting this educational process or getting Thais to really adopt insurance products, which is so much needed in not just their health, but other parts of their lives?
So I think the main difference for Thai people, insurance is they still see it as a luxury product, while for foreigner is something that is mandatory. You cannot stay in Thailand unless you have certain insurance. So obviously for us, for Thai people, we want to educate them to show them the importance of having a good insurance policy. But we also want to show them all the options because I think the problem in the market today is that most of the big brands that very likely everyone aware of, they've been backed by a big insurance company. So obviously they're a bit biased and they're trying to push towards certain company while we don't have this interest. So we are here to show you all the options, all the possibilities. You can easily compare and then get the one that fits to your needs.
Okay, so like you're this independent platform that's basically not tied to any insurance or bank. You're given a full market comparison, but education still, you're saying that Thais aren't aware. So how are you disrupting the education process in getting Thais to understand insurance products and actually take them when we know they're needed for basic living?
So I think we do it in stages. So first of all, our website is very informative, and we go through in details to explain to people everything they should know before they buy the insurance. And obviously, we are there to walk them over the process after the purchase, before the purchase, and during the purchase. So from a feedback that we receive, most of the clients that coming, the readers that coming to our website, they don't leave without getting a full and real understanding of the products.
So we know there's other companies doing this. I've heard of Rabbit Finance, Massey, there's a new, big one called Baltec that just appeared. How are you differentiating yourself in Tadoo? How are you being different, and how are you really disrupting this industry?
So I think there are a few things we do differently. The first of all, something we're very proud of is that we are transparent. We stand on our own. We're not being backed by any company. Means that we doesn't have to be biased. We just give you the through and the options, and then you can go and compare. Once you find the product that you want, we allow you to digitalize the process. So basically, you can get the insurance online anytime. If right now, you're sitting at the middle of the night browsing through your phone, you want to get an insurance, you don't have to wait for the morning for someone to call you back and give you details. You can get anything you need fully online, and it's just easy, fast,
cool,
and honest.
So the real disruption is basically doing what Foodpanda and Grab and Shopping Lazada have done, and digitizing a process that was very much offline and took time, and making it very easy.
Exactly. That's the point. We want to make it fast, easy, and obviously affordable as well. That's the point that we're trying to touch as well.
Cool. And if you could identify one product which has really grown in the pandemic, which has really been the catalyst to your growth, what kind of product is that?
So I would say everything related health insurance. Obviously, it's something that people start to pay more attention. Before, for some, it used to be seen as a luxury. I would say having a health insurance, but not anymore. With the situation we're in right now, obviously, you want to protect yourself, your family, and
got you. Health insurance. So there you have it. Sapir, the CEO of Tadoo, one of the fastest growing insurance tech platforms in the whole country, built in a pandemic when everyone else is dying. Remove that. Okay, go back. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. Sapir, CEO of Tadoo, one of the fastest growing tech insurance platforms in the whole country, built during a pandemic, built for the audience to make insurance products much more accessible to individuals. Thanks, Sapir.
Thank you so much.
Right. There we go. Tadoo. We have some more questions. There seems to be low demand for real estate in Thailand at the moment. What steps can be taken to disrupt the markets to be?
So I think this is in relation to the video previously, which is FazWaz.
Yes.
I think, there's multiple things. I think that, more transparency is needed across the market. Commissions have to come down. If you're paying new development commissions, you're probably paying 10% over really what the price of the unit is. So you've got immediate depreciation. And, the main thing is transparency. Let's make this market transparent. So that would be the way to really, to encourage the market to return.
Okay, let's address a question towards Tadoo. Just hold on a minute as it loads. There we go. Why are there no digital insurance policies in Thailand?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, from my perspective in working with Tadoo, I think that it's down to that the insurance market is still very much in its infancy of what in relation to a traditional Western market in relation to insurance policies. So there isn't that many, or if any, comparison platforms allow you to independently compare products, say for health insurance or life insurance or travel insurance. It's very much still supplier based as opposed to, you can make comparable choices and have a look. So it's in its infancy. So the transformation to digital policies is happening now. And I think Tadoo is trying to lead the cause with this one.
Okay, there we go. That's Tadoo. Now, next, we're going to look at Creative Concept. Now, who exactly are Creative Concept?
Okay, so Creative Concept is basically the company that's allowed us to facilitate this special web event. And they're a very interesting company. Let's have a look at them. Hey, I'm here with Ashton. He's one of the directors of Creative Concept. This is the studio we're filming in right now. Ashton, tell us exactly what Creative Concept is.
So Creative Concept AV, traditionally we're an event company. We do large corporate events based in Thailand, and we've done pretty much all across the world as well. So our big focus was large corporate clients such as BMW, Nike, L'Oreal. We did ASEAN Law Association a couple of years ago. That's always been our bread and butter pre-COVID.
Okay, so which leads us into the question. I mean, you cannot do corporate events now in the current state of affairs with pandemic. How are you getting through this? What exactly are you doing? How are you disrupting, the corporate event sector?
It was a massive challenge at the beginning, and we were very concerned. We have an annual event that we do every year, one of our biggest clients around the world, and when COVID hit, we didn't know how we're going to do this. Luckily, we developed a bespoke online event platform, which allows us to brand the portal to match that of whoever the client may be. It allows us to do multiple sessions in multiple languages. In fact, the one that we did earlier this year, we had 1,200 delegates tuning in from pretty much all of Southeast Asia, 10 concurrent sessions in 3 separate languages, all live, and also with a couple of clients dialing in from the US. And this was one of the big things that we had to develop and also got to build studios for.
Cool. So the disruption is really around as well, this technology built this portal, but can't I just use Zoom? I mean, what's really the difference between using Zoom and Creative Concept?
Well, of course, when COVID struck, it's probably the first experience that people had with Zoom. And let's just say you can't really do your typical sales call on a 5-year-old laptop. That was a big thing. You've got odd green screens and stuff. It's not quite the same professional level that people are expecting. When it comes to something like this, it's an actual broadcast studio. We built this within a day in a 5-star resort, Sai Laguna, Phuket. We have a sister studio in Bali as well. It just ups that production level. And the fact that we can build it so quickly means that, at the drop of a hat, we can set up in pretty much any part of the world and get this level of quality going out live to your colleagues, to your clients, to whoever you need.
I mean, I want to show the quality is pretty amazing. I mean, all this technology is pretty amazing, but are you aiming at the high-end companies? Is this even affordable? I mean, how does this work? Are we saying any company can utilize your services, or you have to be a really mammoth-sized company here?
It's all scalable. In the end, it depends on how far you want to go. So for sessions like this, we can stream out via Zoom or pretty much any video calling app that you want. But when it comes to something much larger, then what kinds of pieces do you want? Do you want a proper studio with a 4K LED wall? Is a green screen enough? How many sessions do you need to do? What's your audience? Depending on what the requirements are, it's actually very easy for us to scale and build upon this base platform and pretty much service whoever we need.
Okay, so you've really built the next level of online presentations where Zoom is catering for just anything, but really this is the real professional capacity. I mean, are you really saying that if the multi-level organization could do a corporate presentation and have 1,000 people in all different countries, and this is all translated in real time and ask questions and even interact with each other, this is all doable through this Creative Concept?
Absolutely. So to elaborate on our online platform, one of the other things that, if you've been watching a webinar, you can be sitting there for half an hour, twiddling your thumbs, you maybe get a little bit bored. Our platform allows us to do the base things such as polling, such as questionnaires, but we integrate things such as gamification, which encourages the people sitting at home to actually get up on the keyboard, doing a little bit of something and keeping them engaged. And because the platform also engages them with a meeting hub, they can be encouraged to meet other delegates in the same meeting, almost as if they're at a live event and they were networking at a cocktail event.
Awesome. So with pandemic, I mean, obviously the catalysts, they can't come to the studio, but do you believe that moving forward, this is the future of corporate events where we won't get together in a big room and instead we can actually stream out from the comforts of everyone's homes?
Absolutely. I mean, we've often termed this as a hybrid solution because as much as you can just do this completely virtual, we have the ability to transplant this setup to an actual ballroom and have, say, 500 people in person with social distancing, as well as streaming out something like this to the larger audience who, say, can't afford flights to come in or can't travel due to restrictions. We expect COVID to still be lingering on for the next couple of years or so. So it all comes down to being able to mix and match. It doesn't have to be fully virtual. It can be hybrid. It's all scalable.
That sounds brilliant. So this is something that's really been, the catalyst has really helped you with the pandemic to give people the option now to say, okay, these corporate events might be a bit old school. You know, this is a new way of doing things now moving forward.
Absolutely. I would say that before COVID, this is something that we could have done more as a novelty, more than anything else. But with COVID, it's actually pushed our clients to also consider this as a very viable possibility for the future. And I don't believe that this is going away anytime soon.
So that was great. Thank you, Ashton. I mean, he's one of the directors of Creative Concept who really looked at the pandemic and really disrupted corporate events and really is going to see explosive growth with this company moving forward. And this is very exciting. And we're here right now using Creative Concept to do this actually webinar right now. So thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Right, and that was Ashton Lawson from Creative Concept. Now, I've got a question here from Tadoo. So from the video we just did before, we have a question here saying, how do you dispute a claim made with an insurance company? Without a broker, who will go to bat for you?
Okay, good question. So what's happening with the online insurance technology brokerage is that the technology platform is becoming the broker, the same way Airbnb has become the broker for holiday rentals. So if you have a dispute on Airbnb, you go through the platform and they manage the disputes. It's the same with these digital insurance platforms like Tadoo, where they literally handle all disputes and help you facilitate any problems that you have within reason. So the answer would be that they are acting as a digital broker as opposed to an individual person broker.
Okay, let's move on to Creative Concept. We have a question here asking, why hire an AV company when I can use Zoom or Teams?
I think that's a good question. So we asked this as well before doing this webinar. We have internal Zoom meetings where we have many people all over the place, all over the country and other regions where microphones are on and things start messing up consistently. This outfit is a professional outfit that's been doing these things for 10 years, over 10 years of experience. Mm-hmm. If you have a very a good event, a big corporate event that you want to run, don't leave it up to the amateurs, leave it up to the professionals, make it very good. This is kind of the offering that they're providing. So it's not for everyone. It's not if you're doing a one-to-one Zoom meeting, but for large corporate events, this is really a much better solution than what Zoom offers.
Sure. Let's move on to the next company.
Okay. So, I mean, the Thaiger is hosting this event and they are super disruptive in relation to the growth they've had. I'm actually speaking to Jay about the Thaiger. Hi guys, I'm Jay. He's one of the main guys from the Thaiger Media Company. Because it's a Thaiger sponsored event, there was no better person to bring on. You've seen Jay on Good Morning Thailand and other shows. So now, welcome Jay. Give us a 30-second breakdown of what the Thaiger is.
So what Thaiger is traditionally a news corporation and news company providing news. Now, when you think about news, you think about the old days when you open the newspaper and find all this information and you have to find out, go through many pages to see what you really want. What the Thaiger does is give you all the headlines, all the right news without all the other bullshit that no one really cares about. It's straight news about real things with facts, critical thinking, and proper information to keep you updated about Thailand and all the news around the world.
Okay, that's great. But news companies have already been done.
Yes.
So I want to know specifically about disruption. How is Thaiger, let's just focus on, say, the YouTube side and the video side. Right. How is Thaiger disrupting the way news is being currently presented?
Right. So, for example, let's talk about our Thailand news today. Our show is condensed. It's short, but we give you all the news that you really need, the things that you really need to know without taking any sides. We give you the facts and we give you straight as they are. Whether we agree with them, whether we don't agree with them, we try to keep it in the middle and give the people what they need to know and what they should know. When it comes to Good Morning Thailand, that's a proper show where we actually debate about topics that people don't really talk about, or they know that it's going on, but sometimes we're critical. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree. But we think it's our duty to provide the proper information and give it to the people what they should know and what they really deserve to know, basically. And that's how we're different. We keep condensed information, on-the-go information. You can download our app, you'll get our updates, and you'll get to see and know everything that maybe the other news outlets are not promoting or not telling you.
Okay, great. So from what I understand, you're taking the whole media outlet and condensing this into short bites that people can consume.
Exactly.
Yep. So basically the packaging is part of where the disruption is happening. Packaging in small segments where people can get consumer bites of what's happening in the news.
Yes, because think about it, Mike. I mean, you know, everybody has their own job. Everybody's busy doing their own thing. They don't have time, but it's our job to give them small information to digest it quickly and to know what really matters. So if you want to know what really matters, here's Thaiger. Here are the headlines. It's going to go straight to your phone on the go, no matter where you are. And you're going to find out everything that you need to know about the country that you live in.
Cool. So let's just talk about the video production and how really utilizing technology to really disrupt the way news video has been distributed currently.
Right. Well, when you think about traditional news and how they do their shows, you'll think about a big set where they're, you know, on TV. You come back from the end of the day from your work and you're watching the TV show, catching the news. But we like to do things differently. We're a lot more modern. We focus on online platforms. We focus on YouTube. That's where the younger generation, the older generation, and that's where everyone, especially during these pandemic times, are finding out their news from. And what we try to do is focus our shows and all our content into one platform. And in such a short time, we've become the #1 English-speaking news program in Thailand.
That's amazing. So is the velocity of distribution of news and how quickly your subscriber base has grown and your viewership, is this really where you're disrupting in terms of acquisition of new customers? You're just doing it better than anyone else. Is that where it's at?
Well, that's exactly it, because you need to adapt to the situation. You need to understand how people are actually taking in this information, and you need to give the people what they need and what they want. Now, if we could go the traditional route and just go with it, but we try to be innovative. We try to make new shows. We try to make information be taken by people into new platforms, whether it's our morning show, whether it's our evening show, whether it's just a fun show. So yeah, we're trying to be different to all the other news outlets there, and that's how we stand out. And you can see that representative in how we've grown as a channel in our subscribers and how our content is being taken in by all our viewers.
Great. So do you think the current media industry, like let's talk about the bigger ones, like the biggest media companies like the Bangkok Post, especially as the Nation, do you think these companies are dying in our creation, the type of creation of new content? Are we growing and now we're taking their market share?
In truth, absolutely, yes. Are they going to die out? Probably not. They've got a lot of funds, let's be honest, but we're not trying to compete with the Bangkok Post. The Bangkok Post are Bangkok Post. We're different. We're trying to find our own way, and we're trying to engage with our audience and grow our audience in our way. And that's why people like us, because we're different. We don't want to be like anyone else. We are who we are. We're the Thaiger.
Great answer. Now, the last question. How is the pandemic, COVID-19, how has it really accelerated your business in the Thaiger?
Well, I guess firstly, people are more indoors and they've got a lot of time on their hands. Some people have been in lockdown. Some people have lost their jobs. And during the free time or the extra time that they have, they want information. And in this era of false information, lies, misinformation, you don't know where to go. And you can go to Thaiger because at least you know that you'll be getting the facts. And we don't take any sides. And we are critical of people perhaps we shouldn't be critical of, but that's why we stand out, because we're not afraid to take a stand for what we believe in and what the facts prove.
There you have it, guys. There is the Thaiger, one of the very few companies that is utilizing what is a very bad situation, the pandemic, and seeing exponential growth in their business. Thank you, Jay, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And right, we're back. That was Thaiger, wasn't that, Mike?
It was indeed.
Right. We have a question here. Would you like to read it out, Mike?
Okay, so how does the Thaiger deal with, media companies have so much negativity around everything they say. How does the Thaiger deal with this?
Well, I would say the first thing is that you can't really run away from negativity. It's something that you have to accept. And as the Thaiger has grown, as our YouTube channel has grown and our online presence has grown, there has also been a lot more negativity. We do have a lot of support as well, but it's something that you need to address. You can't hide away from. Sometimes people are critical and they are telling you something that maybe you should address. But yeah, really, there's no running away from it. We take it, we accept it, we are aware of the critical things that people say. But yes, I would just say we accept it and we don't run away from it. It is what it is. With everything that's growing, there's always going to be people with negative comments, with always people giving you negativity. But it's your job to use that negativity and turn it positive.
Great answer. So I'll read the other two questions on the board. So I think this is to do with the blooper. Is everyone going to die? I think that's something I might have said on the blooper in between the shots when I said talk about pandemic. definitely not everyone is going to die.
Right. And sorry, the last comment here. Why is Mike wiggling most of the time? Why are you wiggling?
Because innovation is happening so quickly. I'm so excited. I can't keep my feet still. And that would be the reason. So I think, is this the end?
This is not the end, because you said that we were going to interview 7 people, 7 companies. However, there's only been 6 so far. Do you know who the 7th one is? It's you, Michael. That's right. And now it's time for me to grill you. So, Quake, you have 30 seconds to tell me, what is DBV all about?
Okay. So DBV is a venture builder. We build businesses, and we build them very, very quickly across a diverse range of asset classes within Thailand and Southeast Asia. And we are the leading venture builder within Thailand.
Okay. And how are you disrupting?
Okay, good question. I mean, we're disrupting because most people who build businesses, they have to build them step by step by step, because, you know, either this is the first time or the second time. Because we build so many digital businesses now, we can basically accelerate the process to get a product out very, very quickly, very, very cost effectively. That's the first part. The second part is we have entrepreneurs in residence that we give training to. Now, the learning curve of being an entrepreneur, you cannot learn this at school. This is something you have to learn from either people that have done it before or experienced entrepreneurs. So we have a basic schooling system where entrepreneurs and residents can come through and learn everything from raising capital to building business of scale to dealing with cheap user acquisition. So there's a multitude of things. So we're basically trying to become the Siam Valley of Thailand, and we've actually called it Siam Valley.
Okay. Yeah.
Cheesy, right?
And how would you say that the pandemic times have actually accelerated the disruption for you?
Okay, that's also a very good question. I think during the pandemic, lots of different companies have really scaled back, like very much scaled back, because no one knows when this is going to end. So digital businesses, unless you're in a very hot, you know, sexy section like EDU tech, which is educational tech, or e-commerce, lots of companies have shied away and gone into hibernation mode, as 500 Tuk Tuks mentioned. And what we can do is, because we are so lean and cost efficient, we can still build great businesses, even in a pandemic, very, very cheaply. And we've continued to go through this process and do this. We have a lot of leading businesses, not just in Thailand, not just in Southeast Asia, but other regions now across the globe. And we're doing it quite well. And this is all an experience for us, and we're learning and learning. So that's how we're really, you know, utilizing a very difficult situation, which is the pandemic, and accelerating our business forward.
Okay, thank you for that, Mike. I've got a question in from one of the viewers. Do you feel that services such as website hosting would see growth for small digital businesses, or will such services be centered with big techs?
That's a good question. I mean, the great part about the cloud hosting now is that it's accessible to anyone, whether you're a small sole trader or a large company. I mean, what's provided by AWS and other companies like DigitalOcean and Google Cloud Services, it's very, very accessible. So I think this is a subject I don't know fully enough about to really talk in depth, but I would say that it's very accessible now to the majority of the mainstream businesses. So I would say, bear in mind, big tech companies are here, so be wary.
Okay, I guess it's now time to throw it to the future.
Okay, so I guess where are we going now? I mean, so this is the first of a digital series for Thailand Disruptions events. We are actually setting up a very regular playlist of new shows coming out talking about technology and disruption within Thailand. So everyone should look forward to the next one that we'll do, and we'll have even more hosts and more guests to come in and talk about digital disruption. And hopefully we can do it where everyone can come into the studio together and talk about these events. Now, for anyone out there that had any issues watching the live stream, this will be available on the Thaiger YouTube channel on Saturday when we put this out to the general audience. And I would like to thank all our participants and all our guests and everyone that's come online to view this content. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Digital Disruption event.
We're going again.
Yeah. Well,